Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 34th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to check out another numeric function, and this one is the round function, and it's used to round off numbers, right? So let me just show you guys a few examples and then we'll talk about the round function. So if suppose you want to round off a number to the nearest decimal point, right? Let's say if you want to round off 54.783 to the nearest decimal point, then you'll use the round function, and you'll have to first type in select and then the name of the function, which is round, and then within parentheses you'll have to type in the number that you want to round off, and in this case it's 54.783. When I press Control Enter, I get 55 as the answer, right? So when you use the round function this way, that is when you pass just one argument to it, SQL assumes that you want to round the number off to the nearest decimal place, right? So it assumes that you don't want to see anything after the decimal point. But this is the same as saying that round off this number to 0 digits after the decimal point. So if you would execute this query, you would still get 55 as the answer. But if suppose you want to see one digit after the decimal point after the number has been rounded off, like for this number 54.783, if you would round this off to one decimal point, then the answer that you would get would be 54.8. So let's execute the query, and there you go, you see that the answer is 54.8. and if you would round it off to two digits after the decimal point, then the answer would be 54.78, right? Because after 8 you have 3, and since 3 is less than 5, I'm not going to discuss rounding off rules in this tutorial, but if suppose I change this 3 to 7, and now if I would execute this query, then you would get 54.79 instead, right? Because number now is 87, so it's closer to 90 than it is to 80, right? But if I have 3 here, then 83 is closer to 80 than it is to 90, so that's why we had 54.78 as the answer for this one. And another thing is, if suppose you want to round off a negative number like minus 12.57, right? And let me remove this 2 and put in a 0 there. If you would execute this query, then you would get minus 13 as the answer, right? So the number has been rounded to the nearest decimal point, and same rounding off rules apply to positive as well as negative numbers. Basically it's the distance from 0 is considered, not the sign. So I mean, if this was positive 12.57, you would still get the same answer. You would still get 13 for it, and if it's minus 12.57, you would get minus 13 is the answer. So I hope you guys understand the point. But anyway, let's check out an application of the round function. So what we're going to do is we are again going to use the same two tables, tutorial as well as tutorial underscore info table, and we'll join them and get some information out. But what we're going to get out is the average number of likes for all the videos grouped by the subjects, right? So in one of the tutorials we saw the total number of likes and total number of views for all the tutorials grouped by different subjects. In this tutorial we're going to check out the average number of likes, right? So the query is going to be select and then t.subject, and then I'll type in avg, which is an aggregate function, and in the parentheses as an argument I'll pass ti.likes, and then I would type in from, and then from tutorial as t join tutorial underscore info as ti, and then is there anything else that I have to put in here? Of course the on clause and the condition, which is t.id equals tutorial underscore id. Then I'll also have to put in group by, since I want data to be grouped by subject, so t.subject would go in there, put a semicolon to terminate the statement, and there you go, you see that the subject C has I mean, all the tutorials in subject C on an average have 1341.1250 likes, and all tutorials in the shell scripting course have on an average 1289.75 likes, and all tutorials in the SQL playlist have on an average 52.400 likes. But since we know that there is no such thing as 0.125 like, or 0.750 like, whether you like or whether you don't like, there's no such thing as 0.1250 like. Of course, you could say that, since we're discussing averages here, it makes sense to have some floating value as the result. But if suppose you just want to see the likes or views data rounded off to the nearest decimal, then for that case, for such a thing, you'll have to use the round function, and you just type in round here around the average function, average aggregate function here. And let's make it a little more readable. So I'll type in as the average number of likes rounded off to the nearest decimal point, right? So this makes a bit more sense. And when I would execute this query, you would see that C tutorials now on an average have 1341 likes, and shell scripting tutorials now on an average have 1290 likes, and SQL tutorials now on an average have 52 likes. So anyway, that's it about the round function. In the next tutorial, we'll check out another numeric function. And thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you in the next tutorial, and you may subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.